Yizzo! All right, everybody. So I am back and I am very excited about this guest. I usually ask guests to intro themselves, but I would love to read off some things and
Oh,
then you can let me know how you feel afterwards. But I
okay.
want to give you some props because
Okay.
the laundry list of ways in which you show up in this world is quite amazing. So
Mm.
I am joined by Miss Franchesca Ramsey, and she is a multi talented entrepreneur, a comedian, actress, voice actress, producer, writer, musician, singer, multiple podcast host, content creator, graphic designer is coming back, interior designer. I consider an activist and a very dope human, most
Oh.
importantly. So, I'm so honored to have you on Around the Way
Oh.
Curls.
Oh, thank you so much. That's
Truly,
such a beautiful introduction. And as you were saying all the things, I was like, yeah, that's it. That
yes.
that one
Do
too.
you realize that? Like all the things,
Yeah.
and I probably missed some.
No, I do realize it. I think it's interesting before we started and you were mentioning like pivoting. It's definitely something
Mm.
that I've done a number of times in my life. I think in some ways because I have so many talents and interests, sometimes I feel a little bogged down by them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like my therapist is always saying like one thing at a time because I'm always telling her about 80 things I want to do and
Mm.
things I am doing and things I'm obligated to do. And yeah, I'm trying to get to a place of balance right now
Mm.
is the thing that I'm trying to focus on.
What's your sign?
I'm a Sag, but
You're a
I'm
Sag.
Scorpio
Interesting.
rising and Libra moon.
Okay,
And I
because
hear
I was
this I
getting
hear
Libra energy.
yeah, so I've heard that the Scorpio in me is part of why I'm so type A.
Okay.
Because a lot of people guess Virgo, but
Mm.
yeah, I feel like I'm a bad gay. I don't know enough about signs. It's like one of the many things I'm supposed to be working on, but
I
I'll
love
get to
it.
it.
I don't know that much, but the way that you were describing, I'm a Libra, so the way that you were
Mhm.
describing yourself, I was like, oh, this feels familiar to me. Wait a
Yeah.
minute, what's going on? Sag, I feel like comes out. I see that in you when you're like, I'm
Mhm.
not taking any shit. I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
taking any shit off of
Mhm.
any of
And I
y'all.
can be very I have to, tell people all the time, like, "Please don't mistake my curtness for, disinterest," because I can especially over text, because 'cause I'm
Mm,
always juggling multiple things, I really trim the fat to what I'm saying, and that supposedly is a very Sagittarius thing, that I'm just very, very direct, and it doesn't always land with people, so I'm better at prefacing and saying, just so you know, I'm doing 80 things right now. And that's why I wrote you one sentence instead of like,
got it.
hey, girl, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, 3 o'clock tomorrow? Cool.
Right. I have a lot of practice in it because Shanti is a Sag.
Okay, good.
And I will send her a paragraph, sometimes with multiple questions, and she will just write, okay.
Mm.
All right. I'm
I'm not
gonna
that
kill
bad.
you.
I'm not that
No,
bad. But I will give you a bulleted list. I will give you a bulleted list and I'll only respond to the things that need immediate
I
responding.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. Before we start though, how are you? How are you doing? How are you feeling? Okay.
I'm tired. I'm overwhelmed. The type
Oh.
A-ness of my heart is really struggling in this moment because so much of my life is up in the air right now,
Mm,
and that's really hard for me. But all things considered, I'm very fortunate and I'm very thankful. I often say I'd rather be busy than bored.
yeah.
So, I'm figuring it out.
Yeah, that's a it's making me think about Fran. Fran and I just had
Mm.
hey Fran, hey, just had the other Fran, just had another we had another conversation, I think last week. And she was talking about how she and I are similar because we like to control things because our
Yeah.
love language is security, it's stability. It's like I'm very type A as well.
Yeah.
And so she was just giving us dropping gems on how she's like releasing that kind of control
God, all
and
right,
kind
great.
of
I'll text her.
you might girl, because I'm like, Fran, I don't know how you do it, but she's just the whole episode is about like riding the river downstream and trusting things
Ugh.
and being in your body and feeling the gratitude even before it's there so that more can come. And I'm like,
Ugh, she's such a prophet.
I know.
Yeah, I need all of that. And my therapist recently has got me in the mantra of saying I'm okay. I'm fine, or
Mm,
I'm not in danger is the thing that she's been saying, cuz
I
I
need to write
my
that down.
anxiety tells me like if I don't do something everything's going to fall apart and like my life is going to be over, my career is going to be over, like no
Hmm.
one's going to want like I'm what's the word that I can't think of what the word is, but like I'm a catastrophizer. Like my brain will go to like all of these ridiculous things will happen. And so my therapist has had me saying, I'm not in danger. And I just have to repeat that to myself because I'm not. Like I'm fine. Like nothing's gonna happen. But it's that need to control factor.
I literally just wrote it down
It's worth
because
it.
I'm seeing myself here. And I'm like, I've been calling in, like, please, God, universe, please
Hmm.
bring me the people that I need to be speaking to right now in
Mm.
order to just feel better and move through life differently. And this is all on purpose because the way, and another episode, another callback, Crystal what
Mm.
and I were talking, and she's like a therapist now,
I
y'all.
know.
And she was telling me how, and even off air, we were talking. She's just like, all of these ways in which you've protected yourself by being type A, by thinking 10 steps ahead, by seeing all of the ramifications of every action and understand, and like just trying to do everything perfectly so that things line up the way you want. They have served you. They really
Yeah.
have. They've
Yeah.
protected you so far, but they no longer are.
Mhm.
Now they're in your way, and you have to learn new tools. And it's
Ugh.
hard for you to let go of those tools because they've been your guiding
She
light.
literally sounds like my therapist. That
I
is
know.
that is what Shawnee will say to me every 2 weeks.
I hate it. I don't want to hear that shit.
I
I'm being
know. How
completely
dare
honest.
you?
I'm like,
How
shut up.
dare you?
Don't tell me to unlearn. All right, whatever. Anyway, I guess we should. You and I are. I mean, we've met. We
Yeah.
know of each
But we
other. We're
haven't got to
familiar.
hang out a ton.
No,
I feel like I would see you at like parties in New
hmm,
York or like premieres or events,
like
because
the
we have a lot.
natural hair space
Yeah,
back in the
we have a
day.
lot of friends in common for sure, but it's also that thing of like when you followed someone online for such a long time, it feels like you know each other, like
Yeah,
we're in the DMs and stuff, like
right.
so it's
I'm
like,
like,
oh,
yeah, girl,
wait.
that's right. Like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, girl, same. But yeah. So I'm excited to be in conversation with you. Yeah, I was going through your page and I
Mm.
was just cracking up at so many of your videos, but the ones that had me howling, probably too late last night, were the videos on the affordability of the housing in
Oh,
LA.
what?
That that
Oh my
shit.
God. It's so funny because I shouldn't be surprised at this stage in my career, but for whatever reason, I have such a knack for getting people very upset about things that in my mind are not upsetting. But painted my apartment, I shared content about it, and I had so many people that were like, "How dare you deface property? You should buy a house." So I started a series on like
Excuse me,
how it's
relax.
impossible. Literally calm down. It's not your apartment. But I started this little series on how expensive it is to buy a house in LA. And it's fun, but also depressing because for $1
It's
million, you can get a shack.
a shack. It was a literal fucking shack, y'all. Like, go on her page right now. I'm gonna link everything in the description. It was like, oh my god. And then the one thing, it had like the beware sign on it, and you were like,
Yeah.
oh, they left us a little note. Let's read this. Like, oh
Oh yeah.
my god.
And if you have trouble paying your mortgage, your home can also double as an SVU set because the
Oh.
murders, something has happened there. There's still evidence in the living room. So yeah, it's pretty bleak in LA. That said,
And New York.
I mean, I lived in New York for 11 years and I was content understanding that I probably was never going to own property there.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, it could happen, but honestly, like I am very happy in renting and I love my apartment. But yeah, the housing market is a whole nother animal that I'm not ready to navigate.
Every conversation I have on here, it's capitalism is inescapable.
Oh yeah.
It's
I
just
mean,
like it impacts every single
Oh,
faction of our lives. Everything.
1000%. Absolutely.
Well, at least you gave us some laughs. I'm grateful. I feel like the people who are hating on the fact that you were creative in your apartment,
Mm.
I think the child in them died a little bit. And so seeing you
Yeah, that's a good
play
point. I
and
think
have
that
fun is hard.
I mean, I think that that is such an insightful way to look at a lot of negativity online. I think a lot of people use the internet as like a therapist, but also as like a way to escape. And
Mhm.
sometimes it can be really jarring to see somebody else living the life that you wish that you had, or doing things that you've never given yourself permission for. And
Yeah.
that was something that acknowledging that in my own life was really perspective shifting for me. So I realize when I see people, and you've probably seen this happen all the time, where you wear a certain outfit and people are like, couldn't be me. Yeah, it couldn't
Mhm.
be you. That's why I'm wearing it and you're not. You are, oh, you are giving voice to the fact that you're like, I could never do that thing. And it's making me deeply uncomfortable that you are. And so I realized that's a lot of like, I painted my apartment and I had a joke of I'm not going to get my deposit back. I've just accepted I'm not painting my apartment back when I move. And so many people were like, I can't afford to lose my deposit. Well, then you should paint your apartment back. I'm not
Right.
going to.
Yeah.
So again, it's that thing. You're right. The seeing the inner child in them is like, oh, I want to do those things, and social media unfortunately exposes them to things for better or for worse that they wish
Mhm.
they could do.
It makes me think about Beyonce sometimes, even though
Mm,
Black capitalism is a whole other conversation. So I get that critique.
yeah.
Outside of that critique, though, I'm always like, well, wait a minute. Like, there's really there's no
Oh, I
reason to
mean, they
hate on
always
this
find
talented
something.
woman.
They find something. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. And I once heard someone say, there's like the adage of like you're doing something right if you have haters. And I don't agree with that. I think
Mm,
if you're doing anything, you have haters. You literally step outside the house and someone's like, oh, you think you that? And it's like, no, I'm literally going to the mailbox. Like I'm not doing anything.
right.
It's no matter what you do, and we have it at every level, whether it be sometimes it's members of your own family. Oh, you got a little job. Oh, you dress in such and such. Oh, you think you cute with that little haircut, whatever it might be. It doesn't mean like it doesn't make what you're doing better. It just means that someone on some level is going to feel uncomfortable to see you living your truth and or doing something they wish that they could do.
Yeah. It makes me think about another conversation that I had with Shanti, an episode called My Mother Was My First Bully.
Mhm.
And it was just
Ugh.
like, eesh. And
Yeah.
unintentionally, but,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know?
yeah. I mean, I think I that's one thing I am really thankful for when it comes to social media is I've been exposed to so many different types of stories that have given me context for experiences I've had, but also just made me appreciative for my life and understanding my privilege in many ways. And I have a very beautiful relationship with my mom, but I've through consuming other people's content didn't realize like that's
Mhm.
not that it's a privilege, but that's a lot of people do not have that experience.
Mhm.
And not to absolve them of harm, but when you realize if you haven't done that personal healing, then how can you raise someone effectively and teach them how to love themselves and teach them how to move through the world with purpose and confidence if you haven't done that work yourself? So the mom is my first bully conversation. I've seen that unfortunately way too many times on social media. And
Yeah.
it's played out from the side of like people talking about their parents and then also people like making content about their kids, and it's like you are bullying your child
Mhm.
for views. You're playing
Mhm.
pranks on your kid so you can go viral on TikTok. Like put the phone down.
Yeah. It that is you know what? I didn't even think of that perspective in terms of like pranks and things, but
Oh.
there is a conversation to be had around how many children are on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And even if the content is celebratory content. Like I
Yeah.
love I think it's Jalen and something. Jalen is
Oh
like this little
yeah.
boy who can play basketball so
Mm-hmm.
well, but it's like almost a million followers and
Oh yeah.
he's young
Oh,
and I just think
and don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed the content. Like I love kids being funny and being
mhm,
celebrated, and especially kids that have like musical talents or
Yeah.
artistic talents. Like I love seeing that stuff. But I think we are hearing more from young people who had online presences like in the early 2000s because now they're adults.
Hmm.
And even ones who had positive experiences or like, I wish that my whole life wasn't on the internet.
Wow.
I have a huge social footprint and now I'm applying for jobs. Now I'm going off to college, whatever it might be. And it's like you Google me and there's
Yeah.
all this content that I did not willingly post on the internet.
Ooh, yeah. I guess we're the guinea pigs now to see what that
I know.
actually,
I will be
how that'll
reading the
actually
tell-all
play out.
books. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. Well, before we get into the main meat and potatoes, I want to remind folks that we are on Patreon. Shout out to everybody that joined. I read that list off on Monday because this will come out on Thursday. And thank everybody for the voicemails. If you are interested in leaving a voicemail for Shanti and I, please give us a call at 215-948-2780. It's 215-948-2780. Okay, I mentioned that you're not on the read, but I think I consider you one of the queens of the reads. Okay, you give a good read. So I have a
Mm.
list of folks.
Mm.
Maybe they won't get read, maybe they will. I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm just curious to know what your thoughts are off the top, and then we can get
Okay.
into the meat and potatoes where I ask you all these invasive questions about your life
Okay.
so we can teach you can
I'm
teach us.
ready. I'm
Okay.
ready.
All right. First up, Trump.
If you are a felon and you cannot vote in this country, then you should not be able to run for president if you are also a felon. And just to be clear, there's nothing wrong with being a felon or having felonies. We know that the criminal justice system in this country is biased, especially towards people of color, people from marginalized communities. But why is it that the rules do not apply to everyone? You should not be able to run for president. You shouldn't be able to walk out of the courtroom and like skip off to, your Wi-Fi connection and rant all over the internet if you have 34 felonies. There are people sitting in jail for like a dime bag of weed that have been there forever and a day. And
awaiting trial.
There are people listen.
Not convicted.
Listen, I've been listening to a podcast about Guantanamo Bay. Serial's new season is about Guantanamo. It's fascinating. Not normally the type of thing I would listen to, but to your point about awaiting trial, there are people who have been set for release at Guantanamo for 10 years. They're like, yeah, you're good to go. You actually had nothing to do with 9/11. You actually are not a terrorist, and they haven't let them go. And
My God.
Trump is able to run for president. It's mind-boggling.
I feel like he is a necessary evil so that we can see just how unjust our system is. And like he is showing us in every facet the way in which this shit is so fragile.
Oh yeah.
It can crack at any moment. I love the point that you made about not celebrating the fact that he's
I mean, there's a lot of people that are
felon.
like, ha ha ha, he's a felon. And it's like, actually Conscious Lee, who I co-host Black History for Real with, he posted a really wonderful video saying, most of his immediate family have felonies on their record, and they are still good people. They're still people that he loves. And this idea that like you're a criminal is wielded in a way, as we're being seen quite literally with Donald Trump. Criminality is seen very differently for Black people and people of color than it is for white people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We wouldn't have a Breaking Bad if Walter White was Black. I just don't think that people would have been watching and celebrating in that way. And so this idea of like, ha ha ha, he's a felon now. I understand the impulse. I think people are just like grasping at straws. They're excited to have something to be excited about. But the far-reaching implications of lots of people that have felonies on their record, either deserved or unjustly handed out to them, whose lives have been impacted, and it's not fair. You can't vote if you have a felony. There are numbers of jobs that you will automatically be disqualified for.
Apartments.
If you have
he can't. Franchesca, he can't. not that he could at his state right now, but he wouldn't be able to join the military, yet he can be the commander in chief of
Bizarre.
said military.
I saw a TikTok yesterday that was so funny, and I wish I knew the guy's name, but he said something to the effect of, if you got on the plane and you were too drunk, they would say you're too drunk. And then if you went, oh, no, but I'm the pilot, then they're like, oh, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, fly the plane. Like, we
Yeah.
wouldn't do that, right?
I think part of the celebratory nature for some folks is the fact that they're like, this system that you have wielded and weaponized for so long is now coming back on you, hopefully, in a way that will be substantial. And so there's some type of poetic justice there.
Yeah.
But you're right. The fact
I
that
get
this
it.
whole criminal thing, it's like there's a lot of quote unquote criminals. So now that's where you have this self audit of, well, what does that mean to be a criminal? How do I value folks that have a criminal record or devalue them as such? There's just such a collective disdain for him and what he represents that I get it. But there is an invitation to dig deeper into.
I'm of the same mind. I think the thing I say more than anything is two things can be true. I can understand why people are celebrating, especially right now when like the world feels overwhelming and bleak and heartbreaking, and the news is just bad and terrible. Like, this was something a lot of people were excited about. And it's like, you know, take your wins where you can. And also, you know, is it really anything to celebrate? Like, it's, to me, it just makes me so embarrassed. Like, ugh, the aliens, like, that's why they're not fucking with us. Like, we are a mess. Like, honestly, and when they come to overthrow the country, I volunteer as
You're going with them?
I'll be like, y'all, I've been trying to get out of here.
They're like, man,
beat me up.
I'm trying to get out of here. Oh my God. All right. A couple more. Biden. Exactly.
You know, and like safe space, there's a big conversation happening right now on the internet and in real life of people who are saying that they don't want to vote for Joe Biden. And it's very contentious. Folks will eat you up if you say that. And again, I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the face. Two things can be true. I can understand why people don't want to vote for him. And also, it's disappointing that we're in this situation again, where we are presented with Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And it's like, it's giving Weekend at Biden's. I mean, he's basically like being held up by a string at this point. Like,
they both are.
Let that man go home and eat some soft serve ice cream and give us somebody who is competent enough to run this country. You know, like, I just, you know, look, and I have many criticisms of him. I mean, I think even just thinking about like our prison system and like the war on drugs and like all of these things that Biden had a hand in that we're feeling the repercussions today. He's not as liberal and progressive as I think he's been presented, but he's been presented as an alternative to Trump. So it's like, well, he's not Trump. Yeah, so what's for him? I'm really mad. I'm really mad that this is where we're at. And, you know, it's just not a good situation to be in. And I wish that we had better. I wish that the Democrats actually listened to us and gave us a candidate who reflected the diversity of our country, the diversity of thought, someone who's actually progressive. I mean, he's basically Republican light, if you ask me. But I think
I don't go that far, but I understand what you're saying. I'm in the middle of reading the Project 2025, which is like almost 1,000-page document.
Oh yeah. I watched the Cliff Notes on TikTok, and it's bad.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
What the Republicans' plans are is literally.
And look, I don't want to give them credit for shit, but to their credit, they are really good at planning and strategizing.
Oh, they're effective.
That is a place where, and they have a lot of reasons for having that over us, largely money, you know, like you can plan for all sorts of things if you have the funds to support it. But a friend of mine, Jordan Carlos, said, Republicans fall in line or conservatives fall in line, liberals fall in love. And I always think about
Mm,
that because the standard that we hold our elected officials to, while understandable, there's this like purity hierarchy that we hold people to, whereas conservatives are like, oh, abortion, then I will do whatever you say. As long as
yeah.
we're the same on gun control, I'll do whatever you say. And they've really used that to their benefit to come up with all of these ideas because they know that they just need to hook their base on one issue.
They fearmonger very well,
They're
whether
really,
it's
yeah.
drag queens and transgender folks
Mm-hmm.
to migrants and
Mm-hmm.
immigration
The
or
immigrants are going to come take
abortion.
your job. They're going to storm in your house and steal from you while
Yeah.
they literally steal out of your pocket. Like they turn your head one way and they're like, look over there. And then like behind you, they're like
Yeah.
taking your tax dollars and using it for God knows what.
Yeah, they're like trickle down. It's still working,
Mm-hmm.
y'all. Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Let me think. I'll let you choose which one because
Okay.
I have Doja Cat, Amber Rose, Diddy, or
Ugh.
Cameron.
Okay, let me do Doja Cat
I
because
thought you were gonna do that.
because
Okay.
here's the thing, Doja, and I know
I
you're
saw your video.
listening. Doja is so talented. And it
No.
really pisses me off. Like, she can sing, she can dance. I don't know if you saw she was on Dave season 2 and she had like a small acting part. And
Mm-mm.
I thought she did a great job. She was playing herself, but I thought she did a good job. I was like, this
Oh wow.
triple threat bitch, like, she can rap, she can produce, she's so talented. But it is so obvious to me that she is in need of deep, deep healing. Because
Mm-hmm.
how are you a mixed race woman palling around with motherfuckers that don't like you? Full blown, like, skinhead, white supremacist, Nazi joke, oh, we're trolling, whatever. And I get it in the sense that, like, she's trying to be like the edgy, cool girl, like, oh, I just make jokes about everything. Nothing's off limits. But, like, you're a grown ass woman. Like, that's the
How
shit you
old is
do
Doja?
in middle school. I think she's like 27, 28, maybe early 30s. She's young. Oh, wait, your audio dropped out. Oh, there you are. Okay, yes, I can. How old is she?
She is 28 years old.
She's young. And again, like, not
She's too old
so
for that.
not exactly, not so young that she shouldn't know better. It's just really disappointing. I want better for her, and it's frustrating to me that she continuously gets on the internet and just says like unhinged, shitty things. But I can also have empathy for her because she doesn't seem happy and she doesn't
No.
seem supported because how has nobody in your camp taken your phone away? You're always
Yeah.
on live saying wild ass shit. You're always in chats with fans and like random people. And that to me just reeks of somebody who's lonely and doesn't have community and or
Mm.
doesn't have people in her corner to like be honest with her, and maybe she's eliminated those people from her camp and that's why. But she's somebody that I think has the potential to have a very lengthy and interesting career. Like, I could see her doing a movie musical. I could
Hmm.
see her doing like a residency. I mean, I just think she's so talented and she needs to go to therapy and
Yeah.
like really love herself because she just comes across as someone who's battling a lot of she had a demon song, maybe she was trying to tell us that, but I want her to take care of it and leave us out of it so that we could just focus on the music.
Yeah. I want to know less about you, right?
Yes.
All right. Let's take a break. And then when we come back, we're going to get more into self actualization and pivoting. Okay.
Great.
I'll do my best, Shanti. After these messages, we'll be right back. All right. We don't really take a break. Do you need a break?
No.
Okay. I just need to insert the ad marker. And we are back. So, Miss, we talked about earlier that you were here in New York. I feel like back then you're locked up, gorgeous, long locks. natural hair
Mhm.
influencer, blogger, content creator. That's how we came across paths. I think it was with,
Yeah.
weren't you? Yeah, it was with Carol's daughter, the shoot. I think that
Oh,
was the first time we really sat
yeah.
down. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
That
That was
that shoot in
forever
Brooklyn
ago.
a million years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
That iconic like Brooklyn stoop shot.
And there was
I don't have it.
oh my god, it's on my Facebook, and there's, like, maybe 30 of us, and it's just, like, we'd
It's
look like an
beautiful.
ad. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really beautiful.
Yeah. So there you are. That's where I come across you and know like, oh, that's Cheska Lee then, not
Mhm.
Francesca yet.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know if it was before this or after this, but of course you go hella viral with,
Huh.
I
I
can't remember, with
I can't remember the timeline either. I think it might have been so Shit White Girls Say to Black Girls happened in 2012.
okay,
And I think that shoot
like
was
same time.
before. I think the shoot was
Okay.
before because I moved to New York in 2009, and I
Okay.
was definitely doing all of the hair events at that time, and had a regular job, like had a day job.
Mhm.
And I seem to remember when we did that Carol's daughter shoot, it was on a week, it was like on a Saturday or
Mhm.
something. And
So
that was
everybody could make it.
that's why we could make it work. So I definitely think it was before Shit White Girls Say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So shit white girls say to black girls
Hmm.
pops off, and it's hilarious. I don't even think that when it happened I knew that it was you. I just
A
remember
lot of
people were
people
sending it to me
yeah.
and I was like, "What is this? This is so funny." And then everybody started to do their, renditions
Yeah.
of it for their own cultural community.
Yeah.
And it was like a really exciting moment and a really telling moment. And I feel like that was when I think it was a culture shift of like, hey, YouTube is real. One, YouTube is real,
Yeah.
right? Two, like you were showing us the power of having a camera, editing the shit yourself, like being
Yeah.
a real content creator. And then also a conversation around what are these microaggressions, sometimes macro,
Yeah.
like, and we're not talking about them enough. And I'm going to present it to you in a way that is funny, relatable, and hopefully digestible for your little narrow-headed asses. Okay, so then like I just feel like so much has opened up for you. And
Yeah.
again, this is me from the outside in. Then I'm seeing
Yeah.
you doing all kinds of interviews and I'm like, "Oh, go girl." And then, you're getting married, you're documenting that. Cut to now, no longer married, no
Mhm.
more locks.
Mhm.
Cheska Lee, we love her, but we are now with Francesca.
Yeah.
You're in LA, you're exploring your sexuality, you're re-entering the dating world, and
Mhm.
now teaching
Ah.
content creator classes, which is
Yeah,
incredible.
thank you.
These pivots, what were they like? Because you're talking about 2009. It's 2024.
24, I
What's that
know.
math, child? I
Ti
can't.
ugh, the
15
time.
years?
Yeah, it's pretty
15
wild.
years.
Yeah, it's
And
nuts.
you have not aged. What the
Ah!
fuck?
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because it's a perfect reminder that social media is just like a slice of someone's life
Mhm.
because on the outside, it's like, wow, you're crushing it, you're making all these pivots. On the other side, like I was terrified. Every
Mm.
time I made a change, I had this moment of like, is this the right thing to do? Am I going to regret this? And there really was no roadmap. When Shit White Girls Say went viral, I was working as a graphic designer at Ann Taylor, and I had
What?
healthcare, and I wore dress pants to work. Like I had a regular job,
Yeah.
and suddenly I was getting all these opportunities to speak at schools and go on auditions, and I had to quit my job and I was so scared. I was like, am I making a mistake? Like, I really liked my job. I really liked my discount. And I was in Ann Taylor. I was in Loft using that discount. And I was like, am I an idiot to give this up? Because I wasn't going into a job. I was just taking a leap of faith. And I think the thing that's really served me well is because I have so many interests and talents and skills. When in doubt, I'm like, I'll just pivot. I'll just pivot. And I had to say, well, if this doesn't work out, I'll go back and get a job. And I did at one point. I went back and I worked at Upworthy for a few years. And then I sold a show. And then I did that for a little bit. And then I got on a TV show. And so I've just kind of said, like, in this moment, is this working out? Is this what I want to be doing? Is this the best use of my time? Is this get my bills paid?
Mm-hmm.
Am I able to be creative? And if I'm not, and or if all of those areas are not working in tandem together, I'm a pivot. And I'm kind of in the midst of doing that right now. Um, and it's exciting, but it's also scary. Again, as somebody who really needs control, and as someone that's struggled with anxiety for a really long time, being able to feel control is really helpful for me. And right now, I just don't have it. I just don't have it. But again, I'm very fortunate that I'm always going to figure it out. And that's the thing that has kind of kept me going is I'm like, I'm gonna be fine. I might not be doing what I think I'm gonna be doing or I want to do, but I'll figure it out. But yeah, it's always been a lot of turmoil every single time I've
Mm.
made a pivot.
What does pivoting what is the act of pivoting for you? Like, what are the
Mm,
steps involved? Do you sit there? Because a lot of listeners feedback that we'll have when we have amazing folks on is that they're like, wow, like this person took the leap of faith, but I don't know how to do it and do it
yeah,
responsibly. Like, yeah, I could just quit, but then what do I do?
yeah.
What are the steps after that?
I mean, real talk, the biggest thing you need is money. And I feel
Ciao.
like that's a thing that a lot of folks are afraid to say. I mean, I listen to so many podcasts or interviews where people are like, and then I started a business. Like, bitch, how did you start a business? Where did
Yeah.
you get that money from? You know, talk about your
Where's the
parents.
startup money? Right.
Exactly. Where did the money come from? So when Shit White Girls Say happened, I made about 45 grand from that video.
Good for you.
And that was the thing that I was like, well, I have this money now. And so, and that's about what I was making at Ann Taylor. So I was like, well, I've got this nest egg that I can live off of. And so that was a big help for me.
Mm.
And similarly, when I've been able to make moves in my career, it's been because I was able to say, like, okay, I can keep doing this for this amount of time, and then I need to make more money, and or I need to, you know, make some cuts and
Mm.
in order to make this work. And I've done that, like I had I was going to the gym 3 days a week. I'm like, we going 2 days now. I can't go three. I need to stretch this money,
Mhm.
Um, I stopped getting my nails done. Like I started doing my nails myself. Like I just looked at my
Yeah.
finances and I said, there's certain things that I don't want to get rid of, but right now I'm not in the same space that I was previously. I have an assistant, but the assistant does not work as often as I used to. I didn't. I got rid of her, or I stopped working with an assistant during the strike because I was like, I don't have the
Right,
money for
that's a
this
whole
right
other
now.
thing.
So um, that's been challenging, but also like, yeah, you have to think about it. A lot of times people say, I want my creative passion to be my job, and I'm like, well, do you have money saved?
Mhm.
Because just because you quit your job tomorrow does not mean you're blowing up and making the creative thing your full-time gig the next day. It doesn't always work that way. There's sometimes months, there might be a year in between, especially right
Mm.
now. The job market is very challenging for a lot of industries.
The creative, yeah, especially creatives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially creatives. And so that's what I've been feeling post strike, and that's been inspiring my pivot. Um, I think also just kind of like mapping out what are the skills that you have that can make you money, and also tapping your network. That's been something that I have in the past felt a little nervous about because I
Talk about that. How did you go about that? Because that can feel icky. Like even
oh
me
yeah,
hitting you up to be
oh
like,
yeah.
"Hi," like I caught
I
myself. I was like,
know.
You don't have to. It's no big deal. But if you could
Yeah,
record with me, and it's like, why
it's
are you
hard.
being weird? It's
It's
so hard.
it's really hard. I think I know for me, a part of the hesitancy and the ickiness of it is I feel like a little embarrassed when I need
Mm-hmm.
help. Like I
Mm.
don't like it's hard
Yeah.
for me. Again, I think the social media of it compounds it, where like on the outside, it's like, oh my God, you're crushing it. You're doing so well. And then I feel a little embarrassed to admit, like, oh, actually, I need help. Like, I'm struggling in this area, or I don't understand how to do this thing, or I'm feeling really down. And so that's been something I've really had to push through. And
Yeah.
I'm really thankful because the more I've asked for things recently, I've been able to get them. And I'm like, oh, like, what's the worst that could happen? Someone says no. But like, if I
That's
don't
it.
ask, then I don't get the thing. And so I've tapping your network is huge. So I've done a lot of like, I've been doing more design work recently, and it's a lot of it has come from me texting friends and saying like, hey, just as a reminder, I do design. And I had a friend that was like, I forgot you did design and
Hmm.
I'm working on a deck for a project. Could you do it? And I was like, yes, I could absolutely do. So like, it wasn't a matter of, oh, she thinks Francesca's crushing it and doesn't need help. She genuinely forgot that this was a skill that I had until
Yeah.
I reminded her. And it truly just came out of like, who can I hit up? Oh, my friend who's a director, maybe she'll know someone, you know? Um,
Yeah.
so reaching out to your network, I think is really great. And then also like setting goals for yourself that you can control. You can't control when you get booked. You can't control how much money is coming in, but you can control writing your script, taking a class, setting aside time to work on that creative project, sending X amount of emails to friends to try and
Yeah.
make connections, setting a coffee date with somebody, reaching out to potential mentors. Like those are things you can actively say, I'm working towards the thing versus like sitting on your couch and being like, okay, where is it?
Waiting for the calls to come. Yeah.
Yeah, like you're like that little Sky Jackson meme, like, like it doesn't work that way. You have to
Yeah.
be active.
There's I have a creator friend, and they've recently transitioned from the 9 to 5 work to full-time
Hmm.
entrepreneurship. And I want to say the last couple of years, they didn't have to go out and like fetch it.
Yeah,
The calls are coming in. They're wildly talented. So they're just
yeah.
like, I don't like, this is great. And that's shifted now in
Hmm.
2024. The
For
budgets are
everyone.
changing for
Yeah,
everyone across the board. I
everyone.
mean, I hear them on the phone with friends, and they're like, "Did you get a call? Did you get a call?" I mean, this is with
Hmm.
the AI
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
into play here.
yeah.
And so my conversation with them has been like, you need to probably have office hours. Like, you're not just a creative, you're an entrepreneur. So now
Hmm.
you have to figure out how to actually kind of sell yourself and remind people of all the things that you do. And they're like, that is not, I'm not interested in that. I was like, well, then you're gonna need to pay somebody to do it. Like, if you
Yeah.
can't do it, it sounds, I really admire it, because I'm somebody who, I mean, I grew up and came up most of my adult life as a creative. And then that, that, the insecurity that I felt, one, even walking into a room to audition and just
Mm.
seeing these people behind the table who holds my livelihood in their hands, don't know me from a can of paint, don't really care about me. And and my field was more musical theater, and then
Yeah,
seeing like the people that do get a lot of the gigs that are like reality stars, no diss, but it's like, hold up,
yeah. We were like,
what?
why did I
There are
go
trained
to
professionals, right, who spent
Yeah.
countless hours training in this world. It's just like, yeah, I'm out of here because
No, it's
I'm
so
not
real.
feeding this monster. But I say all that to say, when I look at you and I think like, oh, she's killing it, it's less about the it's less about the follows, how it looks and all the things. It's more about she's showing up,
Mm,
you know? She's showing up, she's being courageous
thank you.
and like navigating. And I think
Yeah.
that's the thing for a lot of folks that are this really the most inspiring part, is that you're like just living out loud. And
Oh, thank you for saying
truly,
that.
yeah, of course. I mean, specifically you are quite an inspiration for me, because I feel like you said earlier, you have a lot of different gifts. You have so many gifts.
Yeah.
And figuring out how to blend them, how to make one little happy home for those gifts is so difficult. It's really, not to use the word again, but a gift and a curse to be blessed in that way. You know,
Yeah.
like from music to content creation to graphic design to writing. I mean, figuring out how to make that into Franchesca Ramsey and have people want it
Yeah.
is hella difficult. Hella difficult. And so I give you such kudos because most of the conversations that I've had with people who have been pushing me to just get more into the space to create content, it's like I really don't know how
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
make
and
it
if you
all
don't
fit.
and if you don't I tell people all the time, like, you have to listen to your heart, and if you aren't feeling up for something, like, you have to honor that. You
Mm,
know, I've met people who are like, "Oh, I've been trying to write a script for 2 years." And I'm like, "Maybe you're just not meant to write the script." Like I maybe that's not what you want to hear and you want me to give you the magic potion to get it done, but there's a reason you've been procrastinating and putting it off. If
wow.
you decided you really wanted to do this, you would make time. You would
Mm,
say, "I'm not going to this party tonight. I got to work on these pages.
right.
Sorry, I'm going to wake up," or "I'm going to wake up." A good friend of mine said this, and we were out and we were having a good time. And she said, "Okay, I have to go. I'm waking up at 5 a.m. tomorrow." And I said, "5 a.m.? What are you doing at 5 a.m.?" She goes, "Oh, I wake up and I work on my script before I go to my day job." And I was like, "Oh, she really
She
trying to
does
finish
it.
that script." So like, and when I look back earlier in my career, I did that with content creation. I would wake up before work and I would edit. I edited and
Mhm.
I uploaded Shit White Girls Say before I went to work because I had an hour-long commute to work. And that was the time I knew that my internet was faster and would hopefully get uploaded by the time I got to work. You make time for the things that are important to you, for
Yeah.
better or for worse. And I think a lot of people want like the magic solution. I'll often get from people hear from people who say, "I'm working with a friend on this project and I'm doing all the work and they're not showing up." I was like, well, then maybe they're not the person you're supposed to be working with. Why have you been
Mm,
trying to force this friend to be your collaborative partner and they are showing you that they don't want to do it? So either you need to find a new collaborative partner or do it yourself or just acknowledge that it's not going to happen. I can't give you the answer for it. And so I think if somebody to pull it back, if somebody's saying to you, "You got to make content, you got to make content." If you don't want to fucking make content, don't make content. You don't have to. There are so many successful people that have no social media presence,
mhm.
and I envy them. I look forward to a day where I can pull the plug on this shit,
Uh-huh.
or delegate. Like I'm a one person show right now,
Right.
but I don't want to be. I don't want to have 8 million jobs. I have them because I need the money right now. What I look forward to is a time when I can just have one thing and like a side thing that's for fun. And then I'm not spread thin in this way. And then I can say, "Oh, yeah, I want to make a video," and I don't feel pressured to do it. It's just for
Mhm.
fun. Um, and I have a little bit of that right now. Like, I'm not making money from Instagram, I make a little from TikTok. So it's fun. Like, if I have an idea, I post it and I go back to my life.
Right.
Um, but yeah, you're right. It's a blessing and a curse because um, for me right now in this like pivoting stage, like I have to weigh all these opportunities that come in where I'm like, I can't do everything. It's just not
Mhm.
possible. There's not enough hours in a day. Technically, I could do them, but I don't have the bandwidth. So prioritizing has
Mhm.
been the thing that I'm trying to focus on right now.
What would you say to the person who is ready and willing to
Mm,
sacrifice time, to put in the work, but they truly don't know the path? Like I'm thinking about, and we haven't even touched on you being involved in, I think, activism, social
hmm.
justice.
Yeah.
Um, I I'll take a video of yours. You might sit down with the ukulele,
Hmm.
play the ukulele, and you sing.
Yes.
And you're playing the ukulele and singing while also addressing a very serious social issue
Yeah.
that, with a video in the background
Mm,
of something that you are culturally critiquing.
yeah.
That is, to me, brilliant. that's like, duh, look at
Thank
how
you.
she made a pathway for her art to feed
Yeah.
this message that she has. And that's not easy. That's not an easy
Yeah.
through line.
Thank you
So,
for thank you for saying that. I will say, I remind people of this when they look at my work and they're like, "Oh, you're doing these things." Like I didn't start there,
mm,
and the thing that I have really enjoyed over my career as a creator is taking different ideas and like blending them together. And I think that that's like the designer problem solver in me,
mm,
where I make social commentary, and I've done that for a long time, but I started playing ukulele and then I was like, what if I could put them together? And so that's what I've done my whole career. Oh, I like comedy. I like beauty. Can I put them together? So now I'm trying to make funny hair videos. Oh, I sang a song about this thing and my apartment painting videos are doing really well. What if I sang a song about painting my apartment and then I put them together? So I'm always looking at my content, and I do this like when I'm working as a writer or I'm working as a producer. I always try to like survey the landscape of what it is that I'm interested in and what it is that I like to do. And then I look at like what's been successful for me. So I'm like, when Shit White Girls Say happened, I was like, cool, I'm pivoting. I'm going to start making more social justice comedy stuff. It was the first
mm.
time I'd done a little bit here and there. I think I did like Nicki Minaj explains Obamacare or something. And it was,
Oh,
again,
God.
same thing. I was like, oh, I have this pink wig. I'd done some Nicki Minaj videos. Obamacare had
Yes,
just
you
been
did. I
announced.
forgot.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to put those things together. It wasn't like super successful, but it did okay.
Mhm.
Then Beyonce's Countdown came out. And so I did Student Loan Countdown. So I like, again, mixed those two things together. I love doing music, I love
Mm.
social commentary. So when Shit White Girls Say happened, I was like, oh, should really lean into this. And I think more people have to, listen to what your audience is telling you, listen to what your friends and family are telling you. Not if they're telling you like your work is shit, but sometimes you make something and people are like, that was hilarious. And you realize like it was? I didn't even think about it that
I
way.
didn't even
Wait, what
consider
else can
that.
I like yeah, what else can I do in this world? Um so that's how I got to a place where like the ukulele social conscious thing, but also like me wanting to get away from being so educational. Like I was just like, I
Mm,
really want to do this was another pivot. Like when I stopped doing Decoded, I was just like, I'm really tired of being an educator and having to explain and break things down. I want to just make funny stuff. Like it can be
yeah.
smart, but I don't want it to be like, and this means this, and this means this, and here's why you shouldn't,
It's
whatever.
taxing. It's a lot of
It's
work.
so draining.
Yeah.
And I was having the experience where I would go on auditions or meetings and people would be like, "You're really funny. I didn't know you were funny." And I was like, "Motherfuck.
Oh, wow.
I've always been funny." But like you see Decoded and you think like, "Oh, she's, like an educator or whatever."
Typecast.
I got really kind of pigeonholed. So the music stuff was an effort for me to be like, I just want to do stuff that's funny,
Mhm.
and shows off my different skills. And like, I love music. And when I would sing, people are like, oh, I didn't know you could sing. And I was like, oh, I need to sing more. So
Mhm.
that's where that came from.
It's really brave and beautiful, and it's 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 such a creative approach to life. It's
Mm,
such an artistic approach to life that, again, I really, really admire.
thank you.
Um, when it comes to the social justice content,
Yeah.
the cultural critiques, even the calling in of certain folks,
Mm.
certain online platforms that may or may not have taken your work without asking, things of that nature, right?
Mm, yes.
You are known for holding folks accountable. You
Yeah.
are known for being like, oh, excuse me, tap, 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 tap. No, 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 no. That's not
Yeah.
it. How do you manage that while also being in an entertainment industry
Yeah.
that requires a lot of likability, a lot of fall in line, play nice?
Hmm.
Um, how do you manage that? Do you manage it? Are you just
Yeah.
like, my integrity comes first? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, I struggled with it at different points in my career, but I think I'm definitely at a place now where I'm of the mind that I want to go where I'm wanted. And if you don't want to work with me because I think we should have a free Palestine, then we shouldn't work together.
Mm,
I don't want to work with anybody who don't want to work with me. And again, I'm very fortunate because I will always keep a check. I will always have a job. I know I'm going to be fine. I have many talents. I could go back and get a desk job tomorrow if I really needed to do that. I don't see it for myself, but I'm of the mind that if certain people, feel like I'm too vocal or, I'm too much of a squeaky wheel, then that's not who I'm supposed to work with. And I will say there have been times where I did feel pressured to not speak up for myself, but I try to do what's right. And I think that for me, I would rather a door close because of my morals and for knowing that, that wasn't going to be a safe space for me than to, just keep my mouth shut and nod my head while other people are treated unfairly. And
mm,
I sometimes, me speaking up in the writer's room or in a meeting on a Zoom or whatever, sometimes it's not even in my own defense. It's just like I see somebody else getting mistreated. And so when it comes to the entertainment industry, I think because of that, I've also had to acknowledge that there's just some benchmarks I'm probably never going to hit.
mm.
And when you meet certain people who've had certain levels of success, you often I've realized, oh damn, they had to make some sacrifices. I'm not willing to make those sacrifices. I don't want to do I guess I
Right.
really don't want it that badly. It's the same thing I said earlier. Again, I have a lot of very successful, very talented friends. And I'm like, yo, you are tired. I like my sleep. So I guess, I say no to auditions sometimes because I'm like, I don't really have the bandwidth right now. I won't do propaganda. I told my reps that. And so, I've had some auditions where it's like, this is a really good opportunity.
No
Casting really loves
SVU,
you.
huh?
And I'm like, I know, unless I'm like a dead body, like I'm not interested in being a cop, And so I've had many times where I'm like, man, if I was in a different position, maybe I would be more famous. Maybe I would have more money. But I've had to make peace with the fact that that's just not my journey. And I'm still very comfortable and I'm still very fortunate. Um, I've also shifted my approach. And I talked about this recently that not everything has to immediately be posted on the internet. And that was definitely my approach in the past. You piss me off or something happened and I'm going to tweet about it and I'm going to post and I remind people of that to say like this isn't coming solely from a place of judgment. This is coming from experience. It's not always the right move.
Mm,
Sometimes it's better to take a minute. More often than not, it's better to take a minute and think about like, okay, what do I want the outcome to be? Let me make sure I have all of the facts correct because that
mhm.
happens too many times. People react so quickly and it's like, actually, the person said X, Y, and Z. Actually, this is what happened.
Yeah.
The first understanding of the issue is not necessarily always the most correct. So a lot of times now I I've slid into many people's DMs, people I don't know, celebrities, a few celebrities. I've gotten on the phone with some people, um, and I'm always thankful when they're open to hear me. And I will say that approach, in my experience, while not always successful, it's more successful than I'm gonna blow up your spot on on Twitter. I'm gonna blow up your
Mhm.
spot on Instagram. When you DM and you say like, "Hey, I saw this thing that you said, and it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and I just would be willing to talk to you about it if you're open to hearing me, like and really putting the ball in their court." I've done that a number of times, and with people I have never shared about. And I think that that has helped me be successful in that realm because I if I give you my word, I'm going to give you my word. So no, if this isn't a public conversation, no, it's not going to be a public conversation. I won't share it. Or
Right.
maybe I wait 5 years and I share it and I change the name or I I tell the story in a way that doesn't expose who the person is or the experience. And I found that that's just been smarter and safer, and again more productive.
Yeah, it sounds to be more productive. It's hard. It's very hard to hear something that's public where
Oh
all the
yeah.
other folks are jumping in and the defenses are
Mhm.
already up,
Oh
right?
yeah. I've described it as when you're watching like WWE. It's like a performance. People are like,
Mhm.
and now I'm gonna punch you, I'm gonna wind my arm back, and then I'm gonna
Right.
and it's like you are doing this for the audience.
It's almost
And
like the rap beef, like Kendrick
yeah.
and Drake. Like, "Ooh, what's gonna happen next? This person
Mhm.
said this." It's like, "Are y'all getting
Oh,
anything accomplished
and
here?
it's very
Anything?"
entertaining. It's very entertaining.
Hella.
I mean, I will say at some point after, I think it's like Kendrick had dropped like a fourth diss, and I was like, yo, text this nigga and leave us out of that. I'm
Yeah,
tired.
after Not Like Us, I was like, "I'm okay,
Well,
enough."
and again, it's the thing of what's the goal? And I think in that instance, the goal was not about, not about changing Drake's mind or his
No.
behavior. It was a public conversation. And I understand the impetus and the rap beef of it all. And again, it was very entertaining. But sometimes there are situations where something happens, and I used this analogy recently on my Instagram story of like, you're lactose intolerant and you eat that ice cream tonight.
Yeah.
You could have waited 15 minutes and gotten a lactate pill and your stomach wouldn't be fucked up. But you had to have the ice cream right this moment and you're going to pay for it tomorrow. It's the same thing where like you're upset because this thing happened. And do you want the instant gratification of like all of Twitter piling on this person or everybody saying you're right and they're wrong, blah, blah, blah? Or do you want the thing resolved? Because if you
Mhm.
actually want the thing resolved, posting on the internet might just make it worse. It might get resolved if you give yourself a day and you talk to your lawyer, or you talk to your manager, or you say, oh, we have a friend in common. Can I get them to talk to them on my behalf? Can we set up a Zoom? Can we go to lunch and talk about it? Whatever it might be.
Mhm.
Um, Again, I think you have to, I'm not saying it's easy. Again, I've made the mistake many a time, but one thing I think I'm good at, and I appreciate about the place that I'm at in my career, is that I'm very reflective, and I always want people to learn from my mistakes. And so if just one person goes, you know what, I'm going to think a little bit harder about this
Mhm.
next time, then I'm like, great, I did my job. Especially women, especially Black women. Like, I want us to fucking succeed. And I have been treated not great in many a job situation. And so
Mhm.
the lessons that I've learned, I will share with my audience loudly as often as I can.
Speaking of lessons, I think that's a great pivot to what you're doing now over
Mm.
at Wandry.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Black History for Real.
Oh, thank
Very dope
you.
over with Consciously. I had the
Yes.
pleasure of being on a like I guess it was a panel. It's
Mm-hmm.
Olay and Friends.
Oh, yeah. Olay is
And
wonderful.
she's amazing. It's my
She's
girl.
great.
And he was on there talking his good shit. You know how he is.
I
But
recognize.
yo, I love it. I'm like, this energy, I miss it from.
He is so great. Working on that show with him, because I knew his work before, but now we record together a
Mhm.
few times a week, and he came to LA, and we actually got to record in person, which was really fun. And he's a great example of who you see online is who you get in real life, and
Okay.
that's not always the case. He's so smart. He's so smart. He's so funny. He's so compassionate. He's so reflective. I'm really inspired by him, and his
Mm.
work ethic is just incredible. And so I'm really thankful that Wondery put us together, because it's been an incredible experience.
What is the show for folks who aren't hip to it? Because it's not just, I should let you explain it, but it's
Yeah,
it's so the soundscape, the way that
thank
it's edited,
you.
it's so thoughtful
Yeah,
and brilliant.
it's really different from most podcasts in the
Mhm.
sense that it's a storytelling show, so it is scripted and narrative. And you mentioned like the soundscape, like it's incredibly produced.
Yeah.
Conscious and I are getting to do like voices of different characters, or last week or this week we recorded, and there was some stuff about like FBI intelligence and monitoring. And so like in the script they had like this part is going to sound like a wiretap. It's like what?
Mm,
And then it's peppered in with conversations between Conscious and I reflecting on these different figures throughout history who unfortunately they're not household names in the way that they should be. And
right.
so I learn so much every episode, Conscious is a master's. Like, I mean, he's genuinely so smart, and I'm coming from the perspective of, a writer, a comedian, a producer, and just a Black person in the world who has been fortunate enough to be exposed to certain conversations that other people haven't. So I
Hmm.
think the balance of that is really interesting. We get personal. We talk about our childhoods and our our educational background and our work background as they relate to the stories. So we really
Hmm.
personalize and contextualize these Black history figures in a way that I just have not experienced on other shows. So it's been really cool.
Definitely. I mean, I saw the women of the Black Panther Party was really great. I
Thank
mean,
you.
there's so much content there, and especially since we're so at risk of our stories
Hmm.
and history of being told in a way that is not truthful.
Yes.
The fact that y'all are going back, having a Sankofa moment, going back and fetching it, and then really deep diving into the content and giving it back to us in a way that feels reminiscent of our oral kind of history, that like
Wow.
storytelling.
You're the
And I was
first
like,
person that said that. That's
oh, but it
really,
is. That's what it
yeah,
is. It's
that's
like the griot.
beautiful.
Like you are handing it down. It's that legacy. And I was like, there's something so beautiful about that. And so shout
Thank
out to y'all.
you.
The
Thank
other
you.
podcast that you're welcome. The other podcast is Let Me Fix It
Yeah.
Pod with your best friend. That's
Yes.
fun.
Yeah. Oh, it's been
That's a lot
so
of fun.
fun. Yeah, it's
Can
been
you
fun. It's been so much work. We've been describing Let Me Fix It as John Oliver meets Shark Tank. So every episode we do a deep dive on a topic, and then we pitch how we would fix it. And it's very much a millennial nostalgia show.
Yes.
We talked about why we thought it should have been JC Chazé as the breakout of NSYNC, and so we unpacked like them getting discovered and JT Justin's solo career and JC's attempt at a solo career. And then we pitched like, here's what we would like to see him do next. I said I would love for JC to collab with Kate Renata, right? Like I could see him doing like a soulful uh drum and bass electronica type of moment. And so it's very fun because Delon, who's been my best friend for 20 plus
Mm,
years, while we are cut from the same cloth, we often see things very differently. And so that really makes for some really funny moments. Um, we did a deep dive on Blockbuster and
yeah.
how they had the potential to be bought by Netflix in the early 2000s, and they turned it down. And now, of course, we don't have any. There's one
Right.
Blockbuster left in
There
the United.
is?
There's one left. It's privately owned.
Okay.
But yeah, there's only one left. So it's been really fun, and we've learned a lot, and we've had some great guests on there. It's a lot of work, as
It's
you
a
know.
lot of
It's a
research.
lot of we've
It's a lot of
really set
research.
ourselves up in that
It's
respect.
like, girl,
It's a
you're
lot of
not just
research.
on there talking about pop culture, current pop culture and
No,
shit.
no, and we have a script, and it's not just the research of it all. Like we're writing a lot of jokes.
Mm,
And again, Delon and I riff off of each other very naturally, but we're also very type A. So we have games set up every episode that we script, and we have little bits and little directions that we want to take things in. So it's been truly a labor of love. And yeah, I'm genuinely so proud of it. I feel like it's one of the most recent projects that I feel like really feels like me in a way that
mm,
I haven't felt like I've gotten to fully explore that much.
Mm.
So it's been really great.
Oh, I love that for you.
Yeah.
That you've given us and you're giving us so much. It's very generous. And
Mm.
so thank you for that. I'm curious to know what advice would Francesca give to Cheska Lee?
Mm. Something that I've gotten this similar question in the past, and the thing that I often wish I could go back and tell myself is that what's for you is for you.
Mm,
And I think that's something that a lot of us struggle with, especially with social media. You get to see everybody else's wins, you get to see what everybody else is working on. And we are not meant to know what hundreds and thousands of millions of people are thinking and doing at once. You
mm,
got to focus on your own path and what's in front of you. And it's easier said than done. But over the course of my life and my career, I've realized that when things didn't work out or when things happen in a way that I wasn't anticipating, years later, I realized, oh, that was exactly what it was supposed to be. I was not supposed to have that job. I wasn't supposed to be at that place. I wasn't supposed to work with those people, whatever it may be. So just remembering what is for you is for you.
I love that. Thank you. Do you
Yeah.
have time for our rapid fire
Yeah,
questions?
sure.
Okay. Before we do, please tell everybody where they could find you. I'll make sure I link everything in the
Great.
description too, but go ahead.
Yeah. I am Cheska Lee on the internet. That was a mistake. It was my email address at one time, and it was my YouTube channel. I didn't know people were going to start calling me Cheska Lee. It's a it is a portmanteau of Francesca and my middle name Lee, so Cheska,
That's my middle
Chesca.
name.
Oh, okay. Leigh. So I'm Cheska Lee on Instagram. I'm on TikTok as Franchesca Lee. Um, and I'm Franchesca.net, which is my website. And I'm supposed to be launching a Patreon at some point, but again, I've genuinely been so spread thin. But eventually that is going to happen. And yeah, if you want to keep up with what I'm doing, you can join my mailing list through my website or just follow me on Instagram or on TikTok.
Thank you. All right. Last but not least, so Shanti and I came up with these questions when we first started the show years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they're rapid fire questions. And she's always like, this is what we need to use on dates. This is how we need to suss people out. And I'm like, okay, girl. But basically, I'm going to say this or this, and you pick one. You don't have,
Okay.
no need to explain
Okay.
yourself. Just go for it. All
All
right.
right. Great.
Malcolm or Martin?
Malcolm.
Generational wealth or familial happiness?
Ooh, generational wealth.
Jay or Nas?
Nas.
Mac or Sephora?
Sephora.
Palestine or Israel? That's been on there.
Palestine.
In the light or in the dark?
In the light.
Sweet or savory?
That's impossible. I like them both. A sweet and a meat. Yeah, I like both.
Okay. Trader Joe's or Whole Foods?
Whole Foods.
Voodoo or brown sugar?
Brown sugar.
Seat at the table or lemonade?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
that's fucking impossible. Oh, seat at the table.
Family or career?
Family.
Evolution or creationism?
Evolution.
Nikki or Cardi?
Cardi.
Jollof or rice and peas?
Jollof.
Missionary or doggy style?
Doggy style.
I feel you, girl. Protection or pull out in prayer?
Oh, protection.
Listen,
Well,
you
also,
probably one of the few that has said that one here.
and you know what? Listen, I am in remission from the male species, so
There you
thankfully
go.
I'm in a place where, that's not something I'm really thinking about these days.
I love that for you. Congratulations, girl. You made it out.
Yes, I sure did.
Is it Uchi Wally Wally or is it one mic?
One mic.
Is it Black Girl Lost or Shorty Owe You for Ice?
Black girl lost.
Sir or Rumi? That's a joke. You don't have to answer that.
Oh yeah,
I'm
no,
just
both.
stupid putting that in there. Lisa Bonet or Nia Long?
Lisa Bonet.
Bell Hooks or Audre Lorde?
Bell Hooks.
Wow, you answered that fast. You're one
Even
of
though
the few.
Bell Hooks has said some shit that I don't rock with, but I
We don't talk
do.
about that enough. Where you be like, Bell,
She has some shit to say about Beyonce where I was like, Bell, what girl?
Bell, just chewing her ass up.
Why? But I am still a fan of her work.
Okay. Nuck If You Buck or Annie Up?
Nuck If You Buck.
9/11, inside job or terrorist attack?
I mean, some might say our government is a terrorist.
That part.
I kind of think it was I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm gonna say terrorist, but I do think they fucking knew. I think our country knew way more than they've let on.
Agreed. Rihanna or Beyonce?
Unfair, but I'm gonna say Beyonce.
Biggie or Pac?
Pac.
Erica or Jill?
Two Hotep queens. You know, I like their music. They both have said things.
They both tricky.
It's tricky. I'm gonna say Jill because Erica blocked me on Twitter.
Damn.
I'm gonna say Jill.
God damn it, Erica. You little tricky lady.
Yeah.
Oh God. Read the book or watch the movie?
Ooh. Watch the movie and then read the Reddit about the book.
Sundress or sweatpants?
Sundress.
Toni Morrison or Alice Walker?
Oh.
I know. I'm sorry.
Toni Morrison.
SWV or Escape?
SWV.
Flats or drums? It's chicken wings.
Drums.
Netflix or Hulu? You don't have to answer if you have any kind of business dealings with it.
How kind of you. Yeah, I'll say Netflix.
Travel back in time or travel forward in time?
Oh, forward in time. 1000%. I'm Black.
Hello.
Hello.
Buy stocks or buy flights?
I wish I understood stocks enough to buy stocks, so I'll say buy flights.
Prove your point or pray for peace?
Prove your point. Sag.
I love it. LA or New York?
LA.
Ooh.
Yeah, I love it here. I'm sorry.
I know that's right.
I'm that
happy
person.
for you. I'm happy for you. Finally, this used to be a tagline of ours. Love and light, or in your case, money and clits.
I'm going to say love and light.
I love that.
Yeah.
Most people don't. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm so proud of you. I'm rooting for you. And just know that you are inspiring folks. You're inspiring folks. People see through all of the glitz and glamour and see like the human behind it and are like, yeah, like keep going. There's all of these hills that we're climbing. There's all of these valleys that we're navigating, and you're doing it in a way that you should be really proud of. Truly, just from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
And I wish you ease. I wish you security. I wish you comfort and like just more exploration and artistry.
Thank you so much.
Necessary.
That means a lot. The feeling is mutual. I'm so inspired by you and proud of you. And, you know, so many of the things that you had to say about me in terms of integrity and following your path, I feel very much the same about your work. So thank you. I'm so flattered that I got to be on the show.
Oh, all right, y'all. And with that, we are out.